Hello Internet, welcome back to Thrums to Twilight, the channel where I, Vincent, talk to you, the Abyss, about books, movies, music I enjoy, find interesting, or a combination of the two. Not too long ago I read this book, Die My Love, by Ariana Harvix, and I'm going to put the link to my discussion of this book in the description of this video. I wanted to come back and talk about the movie that was made of the book and just give some thoughts about it. It won't be like an in-depth review or a real academic discussion. It's just my opinion and my reaction to the film. The movie stars Jennifer Lawrence as a character called Grace, who is in a relationship with a guy called Jackson, played by Robert Pattinson. And the film is directed by Lynn Ramsey. The film was made last year, and I think it's had kind of a bit of a limited release. But Lynn Ramsey is known for directing Morven Caller, which is one of my favourite movies from the period when it came out, early 2000s. Ratcatcher, I think, was her debut film. And she's also known for We Need to Talk About Kevin, which is a very associative, slightly surreal take on the novel by Lionel Shriver about a young boy and adolescent who becomes a spree killer, told from the perspective of his mother, quite an unreliable narrator. Now, those features of We Need to Talk About Kevin, both as a novel and movie, were kind of interesting in relation to the book Die My Love, because this is also a book about motherhood and a book that has a very unreliable narrator and that's also not chronological. So I was interested to see how the movie would tackle all of these things. And sure enough, it's quite an associative, very visual movie that has dreamlike touches, that has moments that may not be real or that might be slightly imagined or that might be symbolic. And I'm not even sure, I think that the film has a slightly different narrative structure than the book, though it uses many of the same images and the same features and the same core ideas. So just to say something briefly about the plot, essentially Grace, played by Jennifer Lawrence, has moved with her partner Jackson to this country house that his family own. It was his uncle's house, but his uncle is now dead. And they are kind of starting their life together. Early on, there's a montage of them kind of playing around, messing around in the house, and then she quickly becomes pregnant, and then she has a son. A lot of the film is about the aftermath of this first child, how it changes her, how it changes their relationship. The book is essentially about a woman who feels huge and tearing ambivalence towards both her son and her partner and her life in general. This Die My Love thing is, she wants to kill her husband, but she also really wishes he would have sex with her. Their sexual relationship has kind of become absent since they had the child. The film does a really good job of showing how they had this very physical, playful relationship and how that's kind of broken off to leave her with the same sort of playful, strange, animalistic impulses, but without anybody to do that dance with her. So you see her kind of crawling around in the grass, rolling around, masturbating a lot. In the movie, the parents of Jackson, Robert Pattinson's character, are much more central. There are some scenes where they're having kind of dinner parties in the house, and Jackson's father, who is called Harry, he's played by Nick Nolte, and he's clearly suffering dementia, while Grace is, in her own way, kind of already alienated. This is before she's given birth, but she feels kind of outside of this family in some way. Jackson's mother is played by Sissy Spacek, most famously played Carrie. She's fantastic in the film, and when Harry, her husband, Jackson's father, dies, she goes into a state of grief. So something that this film has, at least more explicitly than the novel, is this sense of like one woman torn apart and confused and isolated by the process of birth, and another woman, her mother-in-law, isolated, torn apart by death, by grief. It's these 2 points at the start and the end of a marriage, how these women's lives are sort of defined by a relationship, beginning of the relationship being this transformation into motherhood, and the end being this transformation into widowhood. So there's some quite sensitive, subtle, quite beautiful understanding between these two women. despite the fact that Jackson's mother also has to witness the extreme pressures that Grace's mental difficulties are putting upon her son. Now, I wondered before I saw the film, what are they going to do with Robert Pattinson? Because there isn't much of a character for the husband in the book. And I remember also that in the film of We Need to Talk About Kevin, the husband character was pretty neglectfully written. William H. Macy was not given much to work with. Robert Pattinson's a very magnetic actor. I wondered, are they going to give him enough to work with? But they actually really fleshed his character out and made him more convincing. He was likable at the same time as you really understood the emotional neglect that he was putting his wife through, and he seemed to be cheating on her and not really hiding it. I thought he did it really well. He played this character like he was sort of charming and charismatic, but at the same time kind of hopeless and annoying and extremely frustrating. So I know I'm always on here talking about how actors are amazing, and maybe I'm easy to please because I do think I'm very enthusiastic often about central performances in films. But I'm not kidding you when I say that Jennifer Lawrence is just completely breathtakingly amazing in this film. She plays this animalistic sexuality in such a way that she is extremely erotic and attractive, and at the same time sort of terrifying and unhinged. And you can kind of see to an extent how the husband character is just not able to cope with the intensity of her sexuality when he is going through a process of grief, having recently lost his father. She plays a woman who has only like a tenuous grip on herself, who at times seems to be quite together and very smart and very challenging, and then just in a moment can like slip into something much more mad, frightening, unstable. At times she'll just kind of wander off, or she'll sort of shift. She's obviously having quite serious mental health issues, but I think it's interesting how they don't really try to explain in the film. Like she goes to a hospital at one point. It would be very easy for them to give her a diagnosis. I like the fact that they refrain from doing that, and instead they are more interested in the subjectivity of her experience. The film looks amazing. It's obviously influenced by visual art, both by painting and by artists' film and video. It kind of flows from scene to scene. It has incredible landscapes. Both Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Lawrence are just like very playful on the camera and just like mugging and doing a lot, but in a way that never becomes totally absurd. Sometimes funny, but always kind of believable. So it all looks fantastic. The interiors of the house are great. There are some shots in the film I didn't like. There's one especially which is sort of in the interior of a psychiatric unit, and it's kind of the camera is moving very fast down the corridor. And I was like, that's a trope. I've seen that before. And towards the end of the film, there are increasingly some shots that are a bit tropey. It's a film that you have to respect for just going all out. It does what it wants to do with absolutely no restraint. And in that ways, it sort of reflects its central character. It just is prepared to go all the way. And either you're coming on the journey or you're just going to have to withdraw. And personally, I was with it. It took me with it. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I don't understand why it hasn't got more positive response. It's totally absent from the Oscars. I don't even know if it really got a release here in Norway. Have you seen it? Did you like it? What do you think about it? I'm so happy to see Jennifer Lawrence getting roles like this again. She's kind of been a bit wasted in recent years. So, yeah, jump in the comments, let me know what you think about it. I'll be back soon to talk about some more art or media that I find interesting. I hope to see you there.